There'll be days where I'm wearing different earrings, and Tim will say, do you realise, you've got one of these and one of those? And so I'll, go and change one of the earrings and perhaps be a bit terse. But in actual fact, I'm really pleased that he's doing those things.
It's important to respect the other person and to be life-affirming.
Welcome to Hold the Moment. Thank you both so much for coming in today. And you were diagnosed with dementia while you were still working. What was your initial reaction?
Jim, my initial reaction was one of relief for having something that actually proved that something was happening, going on because of the issues I was struggling with, but also one of, this isn't the best diagnosis one can have. We had a quick diagnosis because I was on top of things with it. I knew about dementia, which was terrific, knew about Dementia Australia, and that really helped too. Nobody wants a diagnosis of dementia, but honestly, it really helped make the symptoms and things that I had turn into something that was valid.
Tim, I know you're so committed to supporting Anne in all of her decision-making. What did this look like right after her diagnosis?
I think I was very affected by it initially. I was very sad at the diagnosis for Anne, but we had to make some very big decisions pretty quickly, like within 2 years, we sold the house that we were living in and had to give up work. So that meant restructuring our finances, and that was a bit to our detriment, but those things had to be done. So it enabled us to plan for the future in a positive way.
Yeah, because those decisions are huge, aren't they, after that diagnosis? You really got to not only make big decisions, but then as time moves along, it can affect the smaller decisions in life. And so how do you find on a day-to-day basis now you feel with Anne? Where do you have to sort of step in a little bit to help, and where do you have to back off?
Oh, it's a moving feast, Jim, and I'm sure I don't get it right all the time. And of course, it depends on the particular issue. There are some, of course, very serious issues to do with when we talk about end-of-life issues or care issues, and I'm there to support Anne and make decisions together with her. But for the daily issues, there are times when I need to provide guidance, encouragement, to listen to her, to affirm her, but also to provide some fairly direct advice at times. For instance, Anne used to be a very good cook. She's not interested in cooking anymore, so I do the cooking. I'm not the cook that she was, but I have to really encourage her to eat and drink appropriately. She doesn't drink alcohol anymore, but she's often, that means a bit of coaxing for her to eat.
Reminding.
Yeah, exactly, reminding her.
Do you find as you've progressed over time that you rely on Tim a lot now for decisions that you used to quickly make, and now you feel a little bit unsure and you sort of have to trust and lean on Tim?
I do. People think, I'm fine. There'll be days where I'm wearing different earrings, and Tim will say, do you realise, you've got one of these and one of those? And I'll say, oh, it's the new trend.
You have to be the fashion police.
I've got to be,
right?
Yes. And he does. And so I'll, go and change one of the earrings and perhaps be a bit terse. But in actual fact, I'm really pleased that he's doing those things and telling me that, you've got dirty clothes on. I mean, I don't want to wear dirty clothes. No. And yet Tim can help with doing things like that. He does most of the things during the day. And he's such a help, and I don't give him credit for the things that he does for me, and I love him.
But it must be very difficult for you, Tim, with the small things, even down to what Anne eats, to the financial side of things. How do you sort of work out when to take Anne's input and when you have to take the lead?
Look, there's no training for this, as you know, Jim. It's just you do it on the job. You learn on the job and you make mistakes. I suppose I've made mistakes at times where I'm too directive to Anne, and she doesn't like that. She was a very independent person and had a senior role with she was an advisor to the Health Commission in Victoria and very competent. And I think, look, It is a matter of me listening to Anne and then working out how best to actually help her. But there are small issues, like if I can mention one issue, it's a tiny bit against Anne, I suppose. And I don't mean to be disrespectful because we are respectful, but often Anne, when we're going away, like when we come here, Anne will like to pack the morning that we're flying interstate.
Yes.
And sometimes there just isn't time to do that. And I say, look, we really need to pack those suitcases the night before. And there are lots of excuses why that can't be done because, she's going to use her makeup in the morning or whatever, her toiletries and so forth. But this time, and sometimes Anne resists that, and it means that I haven't got the time to help her, advise her what clothes to take in the morning because I'm getting myself ready and so forth. This time, she did it. She packed the day before, and it was so much better. And that took a bit of persuasion on my part. And I think Anne sort of realised that was a better thing to do.
That's a really good example, and also it makes the whole thing smoother and nobody's getting wound up or irritated.
Yes.
Have you noticed more of those things with Anne putting stuff off as she's progressed slightly? Do you think that's one of the changes you've noticed and somewhere where you have to step in a little?
Yes, I think her time management isn't what it used to be. So I have to constantly remind her, we'll be going in quarter of an hour, we'll be going in 10 minutes, we'll be going in 5 minutes, or things like that. Because Anne will tend to think she's got more time up her sleeve than she really does have. So I've got to often remind her about timeframes.
Are there times when things happen and you have to, for you, Tim, have to think you can't just barge in and make the decision? You've got to tread carefully and sort of win Anne round, so to speak. Can you give us any sort of examples of that?
Well, there was a big, important decision that needed to be made. We bought a house. We'd been living in the Adelaide Hills for 11 years. We brought up our 4 sons there. And then we moved to what we thought would be our sort of semi-retirement house. It was a lovely new house, 2-storey house on a park, lovely environment overlooking trees because the open space living was upstairs. Within 6 months of us moving in, Anne was diagnosed with dementia. And I realised that we couldn't stay there for too long. We stayed for about another 2.5 years, but we had seen a retirement apartment that I knew would suit us very well, and I had to persuade Anne that we would need to move out of our lovely house in Glen Osmond into this apartment within a couple of years. And that took a reasonable amount of persuasion, going back and seeing this place a couple of times. And Anne was still a bit reluctant because I think it reminded her of some of the visits that she had made when she was working for people who lived with dementia and visiting them in their homes. Well, it's turned out to be an excellent move. That was 11 years ago, and we are in this retirement village, only 33 apartments, and we are very good friends there. And Anne is very likes living there a lot.
I'll even say that it was a good decision.
So
but I didn't want to go.
I mean, it's a big adjustment, right?
Yeah, and to listen to Tim and to trust him.
Yes.
Because there's a lot of trust there.
Yeah.
And I thought, no.
It's letting go of a piece of you in a way. Like your career, then your home. It's like it's all of those things have to be
all happened at once.
Yeah.
At once. And I guess because I was such an independent person, I didn't like somebody doing those things. But it's the best decision we ever made.
Yes, well, yeah.
I mean, how do you both of you actually communicate when it comes to decision making? Do you have a strategy? Do you sit down and discuss it, or how do you sort of go about some of these decisions now?
A lot of it's really just trusting that Tim has my best interests at heart. And sometimes there'll be times where I think, I'm not sure about that, but it works out, and you usually right.
He's usually on the money.
Yes, he is, and I've trained him well.
We'll go out for a coffee and we'll talk through an issue. We don't labour over issues terribly much. We tend to sort of get on with it, talk about something or other and then get on with it, implement it. But I think when you're a partnership and you're on an equal footing without any pre diagnosis like Anne has, it's all give and take all the time. You're giving and taking and respecting each other's point of view. When a person is diagnosed with dementia, there's a shift in the dynamic between both of us, between the two of us, I think, where it goes more to being, the carer and the person who's being supported.
And that's a big adjustment in itself, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Especially if somebody's got quite a powerful personality, a big career like Anne, and, there's a lot of things that are in that balancing act.
Indeed. Yeah, indeed.
Is there any sort of supports that you lean on for decision making? Do you find that you do it just yourself, or do you outsource some help from supports anywhere?
We do have close friends, in particular 2 friends who we divulge quite a lot with them, and we get advice from them and pass things across them from time to time, and don't always agree what they have to say.
But it's always good.
Yeah.
2 heads are better than one, right?
And sometimes it's through talking with other people that you actually come to the decision itself. And it might be that I'm not really keen on the way Tim's handling something, but by the time we've had a decent open discussion with other people, I'll come around and think, yes, that was the right support and the right way of doing things.
So, Tim, you're careful not to just barge in and take over if you can help it, but I imagine there's times when you do need to do that.
Well, I think back to I was a manager before I retired, worked with Department of Premier and Cabinet. I managed IT staff, but I think there's an analogy in situational leadership. So leadership can vary. The type of leadership that you give to a group can vary from being very collaborative and seeking a sort of a consensus about which way to go, to being very directive. And I give the example of if there's a fire in the building, you don't ask your team members, now, how do you think we should approach this? And what do you think? Who would like to, do this and so forth? You just put on your hat, which says, I'm the warden, and you get everybody out of that building. And of course, supported decision making is a continuum between that and the very collaborative and sort of seeking advice and listening. And there have been times when I've had to make decisions for Anne without too much consultation, particularly with certain things that can be safety issues. Like at one stage, her shaver for her legs, she'd leave on the shower room floor, the shower cubicle floor, and I'd say no.
That's going to stop.
Not to be. You do not do that for your own safety and my safety. Things like that.
Yeah.
So it's a moving feast.
Something else I wanted to ask you, Anne, is you presented. I know this from my notes that you presented at conferences about support and supportive decision making. It's a really important topic for you because I know you understand a lot about it. What do you want other people living with dementia to understand about decision making? What's important for them on this journey?
I think really it's important that you've got to remain humble and you've got to have respect for your partner or your family member who is helping you along this way, and that you're not going to be capable of doing all the things you thought you could do. And just be honest and take that advice and take the help that you can get. And I know that that'll go on, and there'll be times where Tim is doing more for me and making more decisions. And it is hard for me, but it's hard for Tim too, because he knows it's hard for me.
Absolutely.
And it's really important though, because you need that help. Otherwise, you're just living in a muddled mess trying to make decisions, trying to get through the day, and you can be overloaded with these things. And you know what it's like if you get anxious, you can't make any decisions. And I think that it's for somebody living with dementia, giving up some of those aspects is really difficult.
Big milestones.
It's a real challenge. And a lot of people don't have the beauty of having somebody like Tim.
No.
And some of them are by themselves, and they might have external help making decisions, helping them. And you just hope like mad that other people, the input that they have has actually got the person's...
their best interests.
Yeah, and that they really care about that person as an individual with their own individual needs and things and rights. You know, I've got the right to say, no, I don't want that. But I've also, know that Tim is really...
has your best interest at heart.
I trust him.
I suppose on a final note, really, in summary, Tim, if I could ask you for one piece of advice to any other couple or people that might be listening to this podcast are on this journey of supported decision-making, which is ever-changing, what would your final piece of advice be, really? What's so important?
It's important to respect the other person, to listen to them, to affirm them, to be encouraging, at times prompt them, what might be good advice. But on the whole, just treating them as they have the right, of course, to be treated with respect and with love in our case, and to be life-affirming.
You couldn't put it any better. So all I can say is thank you both so much for being so open and sharing such a great insight into this difficult journey. And I just hope you both have lots of fun ahead. So thanks for coming in.
No, thank you very much for having us.
Thank you, Jim.
Yes, thanks, Jim.
Hold the Moment is a podcast from Dementia Australia, produced by Deadset Studios.